Good day, friends, and thank you for joining me this day for a moment together as we are contemplating this week Luke's book of Acts, written by Luke, who also wrote the Gospel of Luke, who told us about the early church and how the Holy Spirit was at work in numerous ways, propelling people to love and proclaim Christ and to serve in His name in ways that are extraordinary, even in the face of opposition, in the face of death. One of the little stories that Luke tells us in the book of Acts is the feature for this Sunday. It's from the 9th chapter, the latter part of the 9th chapter of his book of Acts, when it tells about the death of Dorcas, also known as Tabitha. Dorcas, her Greek name, Tabitha, her Aramaic name. And she was a wonderful woman of God, a disciple of Jesus, who gave of herself and provided for the poor widows, especially with making clothing and creating things and loving everybody. On this Mother's Day, it's kind of a nice tie-in that we remember Dorcas in the story. But she dies, and that causes a crisis in that little church community in Joppa where they live, because she was kind of the matriarch, like everybody's mother. They knew that she had gotten sick, but they thought she would recover, but she didn't. And realizing that, they send for Simon Peter to come right away. And then what we would call a miracle happens after Peter arrives. Similar, very much in quality to something that Jesus would have done in the Gospel of Luke and other Gospels. I want to focus, though, today about what it's like as we approach and face death, because that's what the people there do in light of the living reality of Jesus as Lord, in light of what we believe about the God of the resurrection in Jesus Christ, and how we are to face our own mortality. It can really be a real blessing. Dorcas, as it turns out, attends her own funeral. She didn't plan it that way, but she is brought back to life, and then sees all the people who have gathered there in the house in love for her, mourning and weeping. And the story follows from there. I think it's important that we attend to our own funerals, even in the midst of the death of others that we love, who are part of our church family and others, realizing that it's not just a brother or sister now who has left us in the body as we know it, but we are also attending something very important in our own spirit and soul, in acknowledgement of God who continues to live and reign in this world and in our hearts, and who holds out to us continued life, even though that person is no longer in the body with us as before. Yogi Berra, the great Yogi Berra, had that humorous quote. Everything he said was humorous, apparently. But if you don't go to other people's funerals, they won't go to yours. You kind of had to think about that one for a minute to see how it's Yogi Berraism. But we sometimes, although funerals are not that popular, find in the very face of death the last enemy that Paul talks about, a living hope that we can find in no other place. We find in the face of death a quality of life, a reason for living, that our days are numbered, but the one in whom we hope is with us forever. We're going to talk more about that and what it might mean to attend your own funeral this Sunday. In the meantime, I invite you to ponder Acts 9:36 through 41, and what it might mean that for a church community to be caught up in the amazement of a God who is on the loose and at work in our hearts and lives. See you next time when we gather. See you this Sunday and next time when we gather for this moment. And may God bless you and keep you in the meantime. Thank you for joining me.